3,432, 3,433, 3,436,922. Gonna fly now. 3,246,923. Oh, hey. Oh, you're coming. I was working out. Being cooped up in the house like this, I get a little depressed. I try to exercise to prevent it. It's a natural way to do it, you know. Oh, sorry about that. I had to get a good sweat there. Oh. Yeah, sorry about this. Yeah, so anyways, today we're talking about things you can do naturally to help with depression. Coming up. A lot of the antidepressants being used today are SSRIs, otherwise known as selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Basically what it does is it tries to increase the concentration of serotonin in your system, thereby increasing your mood and decreasing the depression. So what if our goal was to just increase serotonin in our system? Well, the best way you can do that is through your diet. If you look at serotonin, one main component of it is tryptophan, which is an essential amino acid. Essential meaning you can't produce it yourself. Therefore, your diet needs to have it. If you're not getting good amounts of tryptophan, your serotonin levels will not be high enough to induce proper mood. It's kind of like having a recipe. Just for example, let's say you're making tomato bisque, for those that like to cook out there. And if you don't like to cook out there, I know you probably like to eat out there. Come on, let's be honest here. I'm one of the eaters. But I also like to cook too, mainly because I like to eat. Let's say you're making tomato bisque, but you're using ingredients that are out of a can. I'm using tomatoes, but they're canned tomatoes. Now, it can still turn out pretty good. Not bad. It'll be enough for a meal, but there's a big difference when you use fresh ingredients. Organic ingredients. The flavor is different. The quality of the ingredients are different. Therefore, your diet must be different in order to have proper and high quality neurotransmitters, in this case serotonin, to be created in your body. Another thing that a good diet does for you is it actually helps your gut. Your gut is so essential to your overall health. You actually need an enzyme called tryptophan hydroxylase to create serotonin. Now, tryptophan hydroxylase is a type of protein, it's a type of enzyme that induces this reaction to create serotonin. However, tryptophan hydroxylase is actually only made in the gut. So let's say if your gut, which I'm talking about your small and large intestines, your stomach, that whole thing is not healthy, guess what? You're not making proper serotonin. You have to take care of your gut. You have to do it through diet. That's the best way. Another thing to keep note is, although serotonin is a neurotransmitter, because it's a neurotransmitter, you would think that neurotransmitters are actually only made in the brain. However, 70 to 90% of your serotonin levels are actually found, guess where? The gut. Your gut is actually a very strong neural network. Some people even say that it's the second brain. Sometimes your gut will tell you if it senses something's off about a certain situation. That's why you get a gut feeling. The gut having 70 to 90% of the serotonin being used in your body just gives you another reason why you gotta take care of it. We can go in a whole lot of ways with this whole diet thing, but just to keep it simple, avoid things that have a lot of sugar in it, avoid highly processed foods. The way you find food in nature, try to eat it in that way. For example, if I'm talking about tomatoes, you generally don't find them in nature in a can, but you do find it in nature as growing as just as fresh as possible. So try to get it in that form, try to use it in that form. You need good vitamin D3 in your system. You can take it supplementally. I would suggest that you take anywhere between 5,000 to 15,000 IUs. Now I know that sounds like a lot. However, your body will not be able to absorb all of that. It can only absorb maybe like 15 to 20% of it. Because of that, although you may have low vitamin D levels, it'll take a while to get it to normal ranges. The top 10 states that have high levels of depression in the US, generally speaking, they have low sunlight levels in their state. For example, Washington State. That's where I'm at. Over here, we don't get that much sun. A lot of times our jobs are indoor, so we don't get exposed to very much sun. They actually found that the substantia nigra, which is a portion of the brain, actually has vitamin D receptors. This is the same portion that actually influences dopamine release. So vitamin D3 levels are very important for proper brain function and your mood as well. Another thing you can do naturally is practice gratitude. It'll benefit you to train your mind to create new neural connections. That's what our mind does. When we tend to be negative, possibly put ourselves down, we have a tendency to keep that the way it is our whole life because the neural pathways in our brain are used to that. Try to change the way you speak to yourself. Try to change the way you let other people speak to you. Unfortunately, this is a big one here. Unfortunately, if the folks that we live with, which are generally our parents, raised us and told us certain words, whether negative or positive, our subconscious actually takes those same words and repeats them. We actually end up telling ourselves whether we are good or bad based on the things that we were told about ourselves. So, for example, if you come from a background where abuse was prevalent, either physical, mental, or emotional abuse, maybe all three, that means your neural network in your brain is set up for basically negativity. That's why it's a practice. You need to practice gratitude, meaning once you hear yourself talking to yourself in a negative tone, you try to change it and you try to look at the positive aspects of life. Now, there are positive aspects of life. For example, if you come from a background in which you were abused, you can look at that and see all the negative that can come from it. And indeed, there are negatives. But if you're watching this video and you're trying to make changes in your life, that's why you're here, right? Then there's something about that can come out of it. You can get the good out of the situation. You can keep fighting, you can keep being persistent, and you can thrive. Some of the most successful human beings ever to live on our planet have been from places where no one would want to be from. Exercise. That's what I was doing earlier. Exercise, exercise, exercise. It helps out in so many things, and you don't have to exercise that much either. You can do 30 minutes to an hour a day. It increases endorphins in your system as well as dopamine. And then it also allows there to be motility in your gut, which allows things to move. If you improve your gut, you improve your serotonin levels, which then improves your overall health, your mood, and decreases your depression. Another thing that you can do, this one's very hard to do, okay? Try to find out what your depression is telling you. Emotions are kind of like these teachers. They come about because they're here to tell you something. A lot of times when it comes to negative emotions, we try to suppress them. We don't want to feel them, so we just keep them down. We even deny they exist, which actually only aggravates the situation. What I try to tell patients is to ask themselves where this is all coming. And this is the hard part, because you'll have to look within yourself to find the answer. A lot of times it's something to do with our background. Perhaps we are dealing with those voices in our heads of what our parents told us about ourselves, and that's causing the depression. What if it's an incident that occurred in our childhood and that's what's causing the depression? But basically, if the source of your depression is really something in your past, then you got to pay attention to that. Speaking of which, I gotta get going. Gotta keep working out. I'm going for my record of 4 million this time in curls. Wish me luck. Gonna push it a little bit. I'm going for the 3-pounder dumbbells. I know, sounds crazy, but I think I can do it. This is Dr. R. Thank you for watching. If you found value in this video, please click the like, subscribe, and ring that bell. And join us for next time. We're gonna talk about the amazing art of failure. See you then.